All right, this is going to be a good one. This will be called The Locker, the Architects, and the Edenic Codex. Let me take you on a journey. I want you to imagine for a moment that what we call Earth, the solid ground under our feet, isn't the full story. That under the soil, under the stone, under the oceans themselves, there is a living network. Not just roots, not just mycelium, but something older, deeper, something closer to memory itself. We know mushrooms spread through their mycelium like a nervous system, branching through soil, connecting trees in ways we can't even see. But what if that's only a reflection of something larger, a hint? What if under our world runs an ancient lattice, a grid of connectivity that doesn't just join plants, but realms? Layers of reality stacked like membranes, each one touching the next. Earth as an interference field. But here's the paradox. Earth in its current state feels like the hardest place in the universe to awaken to that truth. Everywhere else, other star systems, other densities, consciousness flows freer. It's easier to remember who you are. It's easier to feel the universe is on your side. Here, it's the opposite. Here, it feels like everything pushes back. Interference, static, dissonance. Every day you wake up and it's like gravity isn't just pulling on your body, it's pulling on your soul. You know that if you went with the downward spiral, you could win by the world's standards. It's easier. Lust, greed, corruption, violence. Those are rewarded here. That's the bait. But the moment you try to live in alignment, in harmony, in resonance, it's like everything doubles down against you. That's not random. That's design. Earth has been configured as a field of interference, a Metatronic trap. The tablets of architects. And yet scattered across the planet, there are artifacts, stone tablets, crystal etchings, carvings buried for millennia. They depict beings in meditation, sometimes with multiple arms, sometimes with spirals and double helixes rising from their bodies. Above them, often is the all-seeing eye or the cosmic spiral. Think about what that means. These weren't doodles. These weren't decorations. They took the time to carve these into stone, knowing stone outlasts empire. Why? Because they wanted a message to pierce the interference. They wanted us to remember. Look closely at one of those figures, sitting cross-legged, hands in mudra, a DNA helix rising from the eye above him. What's the message? He's telling you the way out is in. Meditation is not escape. It's the technology of connection. When the mind quiets, the DNA unwinds. And when the DNA unwinds, it begins to sing again. It remembers its spiral nature. It reconnects to the lattice, the network under the soil, under the stars, under the fabric of the universe itself. The double helix isn't just biology. It's the stairway of dimensions. Now, people often ask me, are the Anunnaki the same as these beings? And here's where I stand. No, not exactly. The Anunnaki, as depicted in Mesopotamian carvings, are humanoid. Giant, yes. Powerful, yes. But still in human form. Kings, rulers, gods of tribes. Gilgamesh was said to be 2 parts God, 1 part man. And he walked among us. But the architects, the Nazca skull line, the watchers etched in crystal tablets, they're different. Long skulls, wide set eyes. Not here to rule tribes or build empires. Their work is structural. They shape the lockers. They hold the marbles. They anchor the membranes of reality itself. In that sense, they are our brothers, but brothers who stayed outside, brothers who never stepped down into the flesh like ours. And just take a quick look. Three digits for toes, that's it, elongated. And the hands, there's 3 digits, elongated. Overlapping realities and the thinning veil. Here's something even deeper. The reason we sometimes find their bones, their tablets, their skulls, isn't because they suddenly appear or we just happen to dig in the right place. It's because realities overlap. The ancients knew this. The veil between dimensions isn't fixed. It thins and thickens according to cycles, solar cycles, cosmic alignments, energetic waves. When the veil thins, the membrane between worlds loosens. And in those moments, what belongs to their realm crosses briefly into ours. So what I'm telling you is this. The Nazca beings don't exist here most of the time, but when we find their bodies, when we uncover their skeletons or tablets, it's because for a brief moment their reality overlapped ours. Their world has bled into this one, and the two realms crossed long enough for evidence to remain. And so what I mean by that is this. When the realms are overlapping, for a temporary time our octaves are sharing coherence. The membrane between the worlds dissolves and becomes one. For that instant, their reality is our reality. And when it closes again, the residue remains in the form of bones, artifacts, or imprints in stone. That's why Nazca skeleton turns up in Peru in one area, but nowhere else for centuries. That's why certain archaeological finds come in clusters during windows of time, then vanish again. It's not randomness, it's resonance. For a brief moment, our reality intersects theirs. The locker door cracks open and their artifacts, their remains, even their messages fall into our timeline. Then the veil seals and we go back to calling it a myth. This is why the ancients encoded cycles, calendars, equinoxes, alignments. They were mapping when the veil thins, when realities overlap, when the hidden becomes visible. And sometimes when realities overlap, what was hidden in theirs bleeds into ours. That's why we don't just find one kind of body. We find different forms, different shapes, different anomalies. Some chalky white like the Nazca, some preserved blue as if they just laid down yesterday. Some with elongated skulls, some with eyes that don't even look human at all. So what I'm telling you is this. These aren't random mutations. These are moments where the veil thins, where the worlds bleed together. They overlap. They overlap. They overlap. They overlap. They overlap. They overlap. Because this is just the architecture of reality. The veil thins, the octaves cohere, the membrane dissolves, and for a moment, what is theirs is ours. The tunnel case. And in South America, there are stories of vast tunnel systems running for thousands of miles, carved with such precision that even our machines today would struggle to replicate them. Square walls, geometric shafts, a network connecting sacred sites. And in some versions of the story, they didn't just find artifacts. They found beings fused into the walls themselves, as if mid-step, half in, half out. How could that be? Because those tunnels may have not been entirely in our reality. They were built in a slightly shifted layer, a warp field just offset from our own. And when the coherence broke between the two realities, when the overlap ended, those who hadn't made the crossing clean were trapped. So think of if the tunnels were all here and realities moved and now the tunnels themselves move. All right, we're going to move into part 2. It's going to be good.